Guys, I was going to show you how you adjust these Mercedes Sprinter doors. Mine's kind of closing rough. I'm not really sure what's going on exactly yet, but things are colliding that don't feel great on these mechanisms. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to figure out what's going on. And just from the visual inspection here, I see the body panels aren't lining up great. And it's a little tough to close. Now, if I look at the body panel here, I can see how wide this is compared to this side, for example. This side's a lot tighter by the hinge and so forth. So we can start by identifying, that's the most important thing. See how it kind of pops when I open it? And then I looked at this thing. And if you can see, it's off to an angle. It's not really that straight. If I were to call that straight, it's off to an angle. So you can pop up this plate and we'll play with that. And then the other adjustments on this are really going to be, my goal is going to be to shift this upper hinge to the right. Now why I say that, I'll show you. It's when we go to close this thing, you can see how it's smashing up against. See how it's hitting right there? Like it's hitting right. Look at my pointer. This closure thing here is bashing up against this lip here. Get that fuzz off of there. And then this thing, this right here, this male is hitting the lip of the female over here. So that's what's causing some resistance. You can see how it doesn't line up great. So I need to twist this door. So if you were looking at the door, let's say the door is like this, I'm going to twist it this way. This way. So I will be working on this upper hinge, adjusting her outward to line those guys up better. Again, that'll tighten that outer body panel over here. And then that male down there, you can see that she's not lining up great either. So if I were to see how it kind of leans to the right of the female, so I will tweak that male left over here. I'll bring it that way. So we'll go from there and I'll splice in the results after I play with these hinges. And you're going to need these special little star tools. They're handy to have, as you can see, the star bolts right there. All right, I'll splice in a second, see how it goes. Okay guys, it worked. It worked really well. What I did, if you can just see it, I'm going to jam it in here, is you can see the dirt line where I slid that hinge over to the right of what we're looking at. And it's probably almost a 1/16 of an inch on the upper. It seems to have slid a little crooked, but that's okay. It's you can definitely see the movement. So basically you want to loosen these 3 bolts, but don't loosen them a lot. You want them to be snug enough so that when you tap it, it kind of stays there. It doesn't just bounce back at you. So what you want to do is use a wooden block so you don't damage the paint. These bolts were factory, so they had paint in the bolts. So when I stuck my little star wrench in there, they resisted the wrench for a minute. So you want to work the wrench in, break the paint off, work the wrench in, and before you start twisting so you don't strip it. But I tapped that hinge over, and as you can see, I also took the plate off, like I mentioned, the plastic plate to just prise off, and I straightened that male out. That lines up nice now too. And I'll show you one last little tweak you can do on these things. So as you can see, things line up a lot better. I'm not hitting there anymore. If you can, let me get my pointer again. I'm not hitting right here. You can see there's a gap there, and the male lines up better there. And let me close it all for you. So now you can see a good fit there. So you can see that gap there, and you can see how the male's centered now. And then also you can see the male is centered here too, pretty much. Now, can you see that? Yeah. The lighting's getting tough. I'll open it and just show you how the male lines up a lot better. Yeah, the male's lining up a lot better there too. So it's kind of caught. Let me slam it. That's partially shut. Yeah, so that's looking good there. And the last little thing is sometimes you'll develop an air gap here when you've tweaked things. You don't want to tweak too many things at once. You want to study what you're doing and make sure your bolts just weren't loose to begin with. But if you do develop an air gap there, I had one when I first got this van. It was used. And what you can do is, this is the little adjustment for that. And of course, Mercedes likes to mess with you, so they made that a standard Allen head instead of the star head. So as you can see, as you twist that in and make the far side longer, it runs into that hinge, right? Let me get my pointer. Upon shutting it, it runs, see that mark where it runs into? So it's pressing against that hinge once it's closed. This little male thing here hits that, and as you can tell, if you were to be able to drive that in while it was closed, you would be pushing more and more against this, which would then force this lip forward into this seal. So that's how you can close that air gap, with that little tweaker right there. Well, I hope that helps you guys. It's pretty easy. You just got to think about it and figure out what's going on first. Obviously, these other plates are movable too, including this thing if you needed to by removing these. But it's best to start with the simplest stuff. I imagine the hinges wear over time. Maybe they're sagging a bit and so forth. Well, I hope that helps you guys, and I appreciate any likes and subscribes. Take care.